Hello, my name's Father Alex. I'm the vicar of St Matthew's Church in Burnley, and I'm also the host of the Godcast. Joining me for today's Godcast is Samantha Giles, and Samantha is probably best known for portraying the role of Bernice Blackstock in the hit soap opera Emmerdale. Samantha is a writer, and she's also a Wiccan, and in this interview we'll be learning a lot more about her career, her writing and her life as a Wiccan. So I hope you enjoy this interview now with Samantha Giles. Well, I am delighted to say that joining me on the Godcast today is Samantha Giles. Now, Samantha is an actor and a writer, and is probably best known for her role playing Bernice Blackstock in the ITV soap opera Emmerdale. Now, Samantha has recently written a best-selling book, which we'll hear about, and also we're going to learn more about Samantha and her role as a Wiccan. So, Samantha, it's great to welcome you to the Godcast. How are you?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, really, really busy. So everything's a bit hectic right now, but no, I'm good.
Yeah. Whereabouts in the world are you? Where's home?
Liverpool.
Okay.
We live in Liverpool, yeah.
Right, and you've recently returned to Emmerdale, and I just mentioned to my sister-in-law that we were meeting up for the Godcast. Who went, "Oh, you've got to ask her about the hair." And that is your real hair we're viewing now, is it?
This is my real hair. It looks okay, well-ish today, because hooray, we've managed to finally get rid of the wig. So I had it. I was able to have it blow dried yesterday.
Okay.
So that was great, because I can't do my own hair. It's very thick. It's already got a little bit frizzy here, which I've tried to get rid of this morning. But Bernice is obviously a hairdresser and very coiffed her look. So the makeup department knew that I wouldn't be able to do my hair, and they're not allowed to touch us or make us up or anything at the moment. So the wig was the best option, really. There has been a lot of, I mean, the wig's got more blinking publicity than anything, I think, at the moment. So I had the latest message from upstairs, as we call them, to say that just do whatever it takes, just get the wig off her, and you know, so I'm allowed to have my hair blow dried twice a week, and by the same, it'll be one of two people that does it, so it's all still very COVID safe. I still have to do my own makeup, but at least I get to have the hair done, thank goodness.
Yeah. How long have you been back actually physically recording the show, Samantha?
About a couple of months, actually. I think it was the beginning of April I started back.
And was that a good feeling? Were you nervous about returning to the role, or were you more very relaxed?
Yeah, I was a bit nervous going back, you know, filming, because it's just sort of, you know, confidence is really eggshell thin. I think particularly as an actor, you know, any performer, and when you haven't done it for a while, you think, oh gosh, can I still remember lines? Have I still got what it takes to do this? So I was a bit nervous. It was strange going back. It wasn't in my plan, really. When I'd left, I didn't intend on going back at all. But we've had a really strange 18 months, haven't we? Well, just over a year. And when they asked me back, really, I just kind of, my agent said to me, look, you know, you can't really, you're not in a position to turn things down at the moment. Things are picking up, but very, very slowly. So, you know, it's such a compliment that the character was liked enough, I guess, to want her back. So it seemed like the right thing to do. You know, sometimes you have to take, I don't know, sideways steps or whatever you want to call it to progress, don't you? Life doesn't always go in the way you want it to go.
No, I think that's true. I've talked to a few people who the work has effectively dried up for them over the last 12 or 18 months, and I think people assume that if you're in telly, you don't have a mortgage to pay, but it's not like that, is it?
No, and you know, there was quite a lot of nasty stuff on Twitter. You know, I mean, the trolls out there, you have to put it into perspective, don't you? They're obviously quite sad, nasty people, but you know, say that it does get to you, doesn't it? You know, this stuff like, oh, she couldn't get any other work. You know, well, actually, you know, I don't think anybody much was getting much work, and you know, I wasn't desperate for the money. I wasn't on the breadline, but you know, like anybody, work is so important. You know, it's so important to be out there mixing with other people. It's very isolating if you're not working, and I think all of us, no matter what we do, have found that the last year has been very challenging mentally. You know, the isolation being one of the major things to deal with, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And what was it like that first day going back to Emmerdale? Was it like kind of going back to school after the school holidays?
Yeah, it was really. And I mean, I had a bit of a trauma because it was the first day with the wig, the famous wig. And I'd literally, I mean, I think part of the problem with it is it took me a few weeks to work out how to put my hair underneath it, you know, because videos tell you to do pin curls. Now that's very time consuming. So I was trying to do all these pin curls on my hair. It's literally, we just take a piece of hair and wrap it around, and then you sort of pin it. Then you put a stocking top over the top. I'd just done that. And I hadn't got the wig on. I was just about to put foundation on, and one of the assistant directors knocked on the door and said, 10 minutes, Sam, is that okay? I was like, no, it's not okay. I've got the wig on, I've got any makeup on. So, you know, I was kind of, it was horrible because obviously that time you have in the makeup chair, the hour before you go on set, when you're being made up, is that time where you're quiet and you sit there and you either have a little chat to your makeup artist, or you're just focusing on your lines or what the character or what you're doing and what you've got to do that day. And of course, all that's gone out the window now with us having to do our own makeup and everything. So you don't get that focus time. So I didn't really have that much chance to be nervous. I felt totally unprepared. I just literally, you know, got ready as quickly as I could, ran on to set and just got on with it. But I was nervous.
Yeah. Now your accent doesn't. You say you're living in Liverpool, Samantha, but that's not a Liverpool accent. Where did you grow up? Where was home as a child?
Kent.
Okay.
I'm from Kent.
And what was life like down there? Was that a happy time for you?
Yeah, yeah, it was very happy actually. I mean, I come from a very ordinary working class background. My dad, when he was working, was a fireman. My mum was a hairdresser. They didn't have very much money. I remember when we first got a colour TV, you know, that was a big thing. If we went on holiday, it was only ever in this country, you know, and my dad's car would always break down and, you know, all that kind of thing. So yeah, it was good. It was, I think my parents were very strict actually, and I sort of struggled with that a bit, but I wasn't a rebellious teenager. I was the sort of teenager that sat in my room crying and writing poetry, you know, that kind of thing, whereas my sister was the rebellious one. So yeah, it was great.
Were you keen on drama and things then? Were you kind of in the school performances? Was it always kind of a pathway that you wanted to follow?
Yeah, I always wanted to be an actor, and I did all the schools productions and everything, and I joined a amateur drama group, you know, when I was about 15 or 16, and did stuff with them. And I can remember as I got older, you know, getting sort of towards university, I was very sort of against the idea of drama school, because I kind of felt that I'd seen some program on it, and I thought, I don't know if that's for me, because I wasn't a very confident person, and the program was sort of showing how people were really quite harshly treated, you know, like broken down at drama school and then rebuilt. And I just thought, I don't think that's going to be for me. So I did a drama and English degree instead, which I hated. I went to Bristol University and I had a horrible time there. I think I was came from a very sheltered, small countrified background really, and going to university, I'd never been away from home like that, and I found it very difficult. And I used to ring my mum up crying and saying I'm going to get the coach home, and she was quite strict with me really. I think she thought she was doing the right thing, and she said, if you get back here, I'm just going to turn you around and put you straight back on the coach. So it was quite tough, but I got through it. And I did make kind of one friend really who I've sort of stayed friends with all through the years. And I think maybe that was the only reason I went there, just to meet this one friend who's our career paths kind of entwined a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get on to the spiritual stuff as in your adult life in a moment, but was there some spirituality going on in the family life that aroused the senses and got you thinking about spiritual matters? Was church ever part of your young life?
We never went to church as a family. We used to go, my sister and I were christened, and we used to go at Christmas time. But my mum and dad were very sort of, they brought us up with the Christian values, don't get me wrong, but they never had very positive experiences with what they used to call church people. I think they found there was a lot of hypocrisy, that people would sort of say about going to church and all this, but often those people were not the people that would do you a good turn or help you out if you needed it. Whereas mum and dad were very giving people, and they didn't go to church, but they would have helped anybody. And I had a very bad experience with a boyfriend when I was about 15, and I did join a sort of church group, and I got quite into that really. And I met this boy there that was 4 years older than me, so he was 19, and he was very, very kind of religious, I suppose. But then he did, he did awful things. He didn't treat me very nicely. He borrowed my dad's bike, and then he got it nicked, and he never made any attempt to sort of say, let me try and work to pay you back for that. And my parents were so good to him, and he ended up finishing with me really in a horrible way. And I always remember that. And I kind of, after that, I thought, well, if that's what church people are like, this isn't for me. And my faith is going to be a private thing between me and God. So I kind of turned away from anything church really like that, because I thought, well, that's not how it should be, that's not right. And I suppose my family background, just kindness and living a Christian life has always been those values that have been installed in me. And I've always been interested in the more spiritual, in the wider perspective of spirituality, I suppose, like going into territory that people would say is part of the occult, but I don't see it as part of the occult, like the Wiccan path, really.
So how did that evolve? That kind of interest in Wiccan and to becoming a Wicca? How did that evolve for you?
Well, as I say, I've always been interested in a sort of in spirituality and in kind of people's, the things that sort of that we can't put our finger on, our souls, if you like, where we go, have we been here before? That kind of thing's always fascinated me, and as well as I love nature and I love the natural world. And I think that, along that, in the whole sort of thing about witchcraft, my mum, when we were growing up, always used to say, I feel witchy. And I used to say, what do you mean? And she said, I feel like I could jump on a broomstick and fly in the air, and she had this thing where she could look in your hand and she'd tell you things. whether it's like a sixth sense, and she used to see animals with people. You know, whether that was an extension of people's personality, I don't know, but she always used to see a bear with my dad, a huge, you know, life-size bear standing up next to him, and with me she used to see a lion, not a lioness but a lion, and various things. And then this all stopped at a certain point in her life, when I suppose we got to about early 20s. Suddenly she stopped seeing all those things. So I think there's lots of things out there that are unexplained, and whether these are, like, as I say, parts of our personality, and she just saw them as animals, I don't know. So the witchy thing, so I've always thought, well, that fascinates me, not in a dark way, because I think if you actually look at the laws of witchcraft and magic, true magic, the motto, if you like, or the guidelines to it is harm ye none. So, you know, it's not about causing harm or destruction, it's about healing and helping people, really.
It's really interesting.
If you look back to, you know, yeah, good. If you look back hundreds of years, you know, people that were healers, that used herbs, and there's a fly in here, herbs and so on, you know, were often tried as witches. Midwives were often called witches if babies died and things hundreds of years ago. And of course, it was not their fault that the baby had died. It's just that, you know, there wasn't the sanitation around and so on. So all that sort of healing stuff, because I like helping people, that side of it interested me. I can understand why people think that it's linked to the occult and dark magic, but anybody that was ever to do anything dark, the rule is that it would come back on you threefold. I know we might say, well, how does that work? Because, you know, people that are linked to the devil, because I do believe in the devil. I think if you believe in God, you have to believe in the devil. So you think, how does that work? And I don't know. I think that there are people that are evil and that do awful, nasty things, that somehow have the protection of the devil. But I mean, I don't really understand all that, but I know that certainly when you're trying to do good things, or you're working with the light, you get a lot of interest from that side, because I think that the darkness doesn't like the light, if you like, and wants to try and
well, that's certainly very scriptural. That's certainly very scriptural. But how old were you then, Samantha, when you kind of made this commitment? I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable calling you a witch, but that's what you would identify as, is it? Well,
I don't know, really. I mean, I think there's so much kind of wrapped up in that word, isn't there? And people think it's a bit of a joke, or they think you're mad or whatever. So, and then you get people saying, well, are you a white witch then? And actually there's no distinction, because if you're interested in magic, as I said before, you wouldn't do dark magic because it's going to come back on you. So I would probably say I'm a follower of Wicca rather than a witch, although other people might describe me as a witch. But to be honest with you, I don't really do magic for myself. I don't really do it. I've done a handful of spell rituals, if you like, over my lifetime, because the main point of it, and this is what I try and say to people, is it's something that you should only use as a last resort, and only alongside practical measures, because it can be extremely powerful, and you can, if you're not thinking through what you're trying to achieve, it can go wrong, you know. For example, if you're saying, oh, I really want to meet someone, I really want to find a partner, and I want a new job, and I want this, you're sending out too many mixed messages, if you like, and you have to be very focused on that one thing. And it's, you know, maybe it's not about meeting someone, because we always think we know best for our higher selves, and sometimes we don't. So maybe it's about life opening up for you, so that you meet and meeting more people. You know, maybe that's the key. So you have to think very carefully about what it is that you think that's lacking in your life, and sort of present that, if you like, to the universe. This is what I'm asking for. So it's not something just to be dabbled with willy-nilly. And then, because then people go, well, it's gone wrong, you know, and you think, well, you have to be careful with it. You know, I'm not saying it's dangerous and that horrible things going to happen, but I mean, you just have to be very specific when you're asking for things. It's like someone that's saying, I want more money, I don't care what happens, I want more money, and then maybe a relative dies that leaves them more money, but then you've got the pain of that relative that's died. So it's
and how long have you been a follower? How long would you self-describe as a follower of Wiccan then?
Well, over 10 years, I would say. Yes, I'm quite new. I mean, I suppose I always have been. I just didn't know what it was, if you like. And we've been brought up, really. I mean, you know, we've all got little bits of that in us. You know, if you get stung by a stinging nettle, how many of us as mums have said to us, find a dock leaf, put it on. You know, that's Wicca, really. That's using natural things to help you, to help heal you.
I do think, Samantha, I'm being honest, that some people watching this will think it's slightly weird that a Christian minister is interviewing not only a TV celebrity, but a Wiccan. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were some Christians who were quite troubled that I'm interviewing you, that causes them some anguish and angst. Maybe you could just use this opportunity to kind of just expand on the Wiccan kind of belief system and what it really is, that you might put their mind at rest, or you might actually get the hairs on the back of their neck even more prominent. But what would you say?
Absolutely. So Wicca's got absolutely nothing to do with the devil or the occult. I mean, you know, God created this beautiful earth, and Wicca is about how the nature and the natural world mirrors life, really, you know, the circle of life. So you've got, so what you're doing as a Wiccan, if you like, is you are trying to look after the natural world, and you're celebrating nature. So we have very similar festivals to the Christian calendar. So we would have, for example, Litha is summer solstice. So that's like the peak of summer, you know, 21st of June, Midsummer's Day. So we're celebrating the longest day, you know. At this point, everything is full of life and vitality. And then, you know, after that date, the days are getting shorter and shorter. So we would also, you know, you've got festivals at the beginning of February to mark the very beginning of spring, if you like, winter ending and the snowdrops coming up. So it's all things marking natural cycles. Then in August, the beginning of August, you've got Lammas or Lunasa. You know, it's called different things, and that's like the harvest, you know, like harvest festival, like you know, like haymaking and celebrating the fruits of our labour. So not only in things that you might have grown and you know, haymaking, but actually in kind of what you've achieved, maybe emotionally and physically, and maybe in your work and all those things. So it's celebrating that, really. And then you've got, you know, you've got autumn equinox, you've got, you know, where again the days are starting to get shorter, and so on. And yet and there is obviously Halloween as well, which I know isn't part of wouldn't be part of the Christian calendar. It's part of our Western calendar, I suppose, Halloween, and we call that Samhain. And really all that is about celebrating how it's, so what you would do at Halloween, at Samhain, is you would honour your dearly departed and the people that have that you've lost. It's nothing about, so it's not about ghosts or spooks or anything like that. It's about the fact that, you know, maybe you lost your your mother or your father or your grandmother, and you lay an extra place at the table to honour them on that day. So it's all very kind of loving and kind, really. It's about being kind to people. It's about helping people. So very similar rules of life, morals, moral code, similar to Christianity.
Am I right in saying that the theology is quite diverse? So there may be atheists who would be Wiccans, agnostics, people who actually believe in a deity can also be Wiccans. Is that right, Samantha?
Yes, it's all embracing, really. I mean, people don't necessarily believe in God, or they might believe that the moon, that there's maybe a god or goddess behind the moon, and really it's just a symbol of its power, because the moon is very, very powerful, very cleansing. We're all affected by the moon, that's a fact, because that affects the tides, and we're mostly made of water. People do have different moods and so on according to what the moon is doing.
So you as an individual, Samantha, do you celebrate Easter and Christmas, or do they just pass?
I do. Yes, I do, because obviously I do believe in God and the story of Jesus and so on. So I do celebrate those things. Absolutely, yeah.
And your kind of understanding of Jesus as an individual would be what?
Well, I believe that Jesus was a person that lived and that was trying to do, good things and to help people. And, and I believe that he was crucified and that he is a symbol of how he has died, basically, symbolically, so that we can be forgiven our sins, if you like, by God.
And would you accept him as the Son of God as well, Samantha?
Yes, yeah, I would.
Yes. Well, that's great. I hope that helps some people who are thinking, "Oh my goodness, what on earth is Father Alex doing now?"
Well, I'm sure that people will still think that I've somehow been, taken by the devil or something like that. But I don't have to. I can explain myself so far, but at the end of the day, I think the way you live your life and your actions speak louder than anything, don't they? So I hope that if you would talk to my friends or family, that they would tell you that I hopefully live a good life.
Has it ever impacted on your career, Samantha, in a negative way, or has it never been a blocker for you that you know of?
I don't think it's ever. I mean, I don't know. I hope not. One never knows. Do you? What's kind of? I mean, I'm quite private. I know it's ironic. Now I'm not private because it's been in the press and everything. But I've always been quite private about my beliefs and so on and so forth. And like I say, what people think and believe is totally up to them. It's like, I think personally, I don't care what somebody, unless they're really evil. I'm not really that bothered about somebody's sexuality or politics or whatever. As long as they're a decent person, I'll just accept them on face value.
That's nice to hear. Just before, I just want to move on to your book in a moment, but just so we've got the longest day coming up, June 21st. Did you say?
Yes.
How will you celebrate that then, Samantha? What would that day look like you in terms of your Wiccan
well, obviously, I might be working. I'm not sure what day of the week it is, but to me, it's kind of, I feel that I would just have a few moments for myself in the evening and just kind of toast the sun, really toast the sun and the natural world, and thank it and say thank you for the fact that I'm here to experience this. And it feels like a very special time. It feels like it's like the peak of the whole of energy has risen and risen, and it feels like a time where anything is possible. I mean, I love the summer anyway. I was born in the summer. But it does, and I think to feel that feeling that anything is possible, that life is limitless and that you can achieve anything, it's really exciting. So I think it's an exciting time, and that's for me what it is. It's a time of great positivity.
Do you pray, Samantha? Is that part of your life or not?
Yes, I do sometimes. I would call it, which is prayer, I suppose. I sort of have a little chat with God. So yeah, I do, and I might do that when I'm in the car driving to work, and it's more what I would call a chat. So I might sort of say anything that I'm worried or concerned about. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I don't like to ask for things, but I suppose it's easier to ask for things for other people, isn't it? Can you please help my sister or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, rather than yourself. But yeah.
Excellent. So this book, Rosemary and the Witches of Pendle Hill, well, I can look out my front door and I can see Pendle Hill, and it is, not that I know many hills, but it is certainly my favourite hill anywhere. I can say what was behind that. Obviously, not everybody will know the story of the Pendle Witches, but what inspired you to write this book?
Well, it was my family, really. It didn't start being about the Pendle Witches at all. It started about, you know, I was inspired by my children and my husband, and I thought I want to write something for my children so that when they, you know, when I'm dead, they're older or whatever, they can go, oh gosh, our mum wrote this, you know, and it was about them. So it's very much their voices. So Rosemary is my eldest daughter, and Lois, the sister in it, is my youngest daughter. And then there's a little boy in it, Addie, who is based on one of my daughter's friends when she was at junior school. And so I started writing about that, and I wanted to write a bit about mental health as well, because I think my husband suffers intermittently with depression. So, and we'd been through a particularly tough time when I started writing the book, and I just felt that it would be cathartic to write about this from a child's point of view and everything. So, and I, you know, it was about witches because I sort of based the mum character on me, and, you know, the fact that she was an actress and that she did magic, and that there was this portal in the house. The children found this portal, and they lived with all these, the stories that they live with all these other witches and wizards, but they just accept as part of their family, but the dad never sees them, and they also think, well, where do they sleep, because we're only in a 3-bedroomed house. So it's kind of like something that the children have always grown up with, and it's only now that the eldest girl, I think she's 10 in it, 9 or 10, she starts to question it when one of them disappears, one of the witches disappears. And then as I was writing, I thought, well, hang on, how can I link this story up? It needs more to it. It needs more to it. And that's when I suddenly discovered the story of the Pendle Witches. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant, you know, because I like history. I'm really interested in history. And I think it's a great way of children to learn about history as well, by incorporating that in a book that hopefully they'll enjoy and find out about historical events through something fun. So yes, so the Pendle Witch story, for anyone that doesn't know, 1612, I think it was 1612, but a bit rusty now on my history. I think it was it 13, 12 or 13 people were arrested and actually hung on Gallows Hill in Lancaster. So they had to walk from Pendle all the way to Lancaster to be hung. And these people, it started off, the whole thing kicked off with, there were 2 families that didn't really get on at that time, and one of the grandchildren, I think, a young girl, she'd trying to buy these pins off of a peddler called John Law, and he wouldn't sell her these pins. These pins were often used to do love spells and so on, apparently. Whether that or not that's why she wanted the pins, I don't know. He wouldn't sell them to her. So what happened was she obviously got cross about that, and he says that she caused him to have a stroke. So he took his case to like the district judge, Roger Knoll, who went round and questioned all these people and basically said they're all guilty of witchcraft and they're going to be hung. So that's basically what happened.
And I'm just going back to my primary school days, because if you live around these parts, you talked about the Pendle witches. I think I'm right in saying that the trial was that they put them in a big barrel of water, wasn't it? And if they drowned, if they drowned, they were innocent. If they didn't drown, they were guilty. That was the kind of sheet.
It's a no-win situation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, and I believe the child, one of the children, inadvertently, Janet, her name was, wasn't it? Inadvertently testified against her family, and she was the clincher, I think, that clinched them all to be found guilty. So there's lots of films and that been made about it, sort of based on it. So I've sort of changed, put a little bit of fiction around it, obviously, as well. But basically, my witches are a few of them are linked to. Some of them are linked to the witches, and some of them are linked to John Law, the peddler. So there's automatically there's the potential for a feud going on within the book,
And the book has done very well, hasn't it?
It has done well for a first book. Yeah, I've been really pleased, and I'm just so thrilled that it got published. And I've got a sequel coming out in mid-October this year, which is called Rosemary and the Book of the Dead. So that's got historical stuff in it as well. That's got kind of historical stuff regarding Egypt.
Right.
I love kind of Egyptian stuff. So I hope that does well as well.
Is that in the can, as it were? Is it done and dusted? Is it where is it?
It's all done.
It's all done, yeah.
It's all done. I'm waiting for cover designs, to see the cover designs and stuff. And then once we've got that, I can that'll be available to pre-order, but not yet. It's probably going to be more like July, August that it's available to pre-order. And I'll put details on my website.
I guess that must be really exciting, Samantha, just waiting now.
It is. I am excited. It's a lot of hard work, and I'm not getting as much time to write at the moment as I'd like. I'm planning to write today and tomorrow, hopefully, but things keep popping up, and it's really hard to find that time now. But I'm desperate. So I'm writing something else at the moment. I'm desperate to get back to it because I feel like it's friends. They're friends that I haven't seen for a while, and I need to spend some time with them.
Well, I'm sorry for getting in the way of your writing, but it's been really lovely talking to you. Just finishing up with Emmerdale, do you see this as a short-term return to the show, or are you there indefinitely at the moment? How's it going?
Well, I'm contracted for a year. I mean, I would obviously, I'm happy to be back and to be working, but obviously that need to do other stuff hasn't gone away. So in terms of how I feel, I'm there. I'm not going to be there as long as perhaps I would ordinarily. I would like to kind of carry on moving on. I'm just desperate to do some theatre, really, which I hope I'll be able to do at some point. So I'm certainly there for a year at the moment, and then we'll just have to see.
Yeah, Samantha, it's been fascinating talking to you. It's been really lovely learning about Wiccan myself. It's not something I'm overly au fait with, so it's been really good, and hopefully it's caused people interest. And your book is available in all good bookshops, is it, at the moment, and online?
It's available on Amazon, or you can order it any bookshop you can order it from, actually. And I mean, there's a few local bookshops around Pendle. I think there's, what's that one called, Inside Number 10 or something in Clitheroe.
Ah, right, yeah.
It's in there, And if you go to my website, which is thesamanthagiles.co.uk, you can order it via Amazon, and you can also request for a signed book plate, which is like a little thing that I sign and dedicate, and I send it to you, and then you can stick it in the book. So it's like having your signed copy.
Fabulous. Have you been up to Pendle then, Samantha? Have you had a look round?
I have. It's just beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It is. It really is.
Beautiful.
Great advert.
A lovely part of the world.
Yeah. Well, Samantha, thanks ever so much, and we wish you well with all that comes next with the book when it launches later in the year. And you know, I'm delighted to hear the Wiggate has been resolved and everything's all right there. And wish you well for the next year or two of your time on Emmerdale. But for now, Samantha, thanks so much for coming on the Godcast. If anybody wants to watch any more of these interviews, just Google the Godcast. You'll find lots of famous faces, theologians, comedians, and sportsmen. But for now, we'll say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.